All right, we want to welcome everybody to tonight's, this is the 2021 Candidate Forum. I think this is a great time for everybody at home to get familiarized or acquainted with the candidates. This is a big deal. To have people that, it's a volunteer army that want to take the time, that study, that make sure that we've got good footing at the city, make sure that we've got great footing at our school district, and I want to take time to mention some thanks before we get rolling. First of all, I would like to thank Sherry Turney with our Chamber of Commerce for working with all the parties to make sure that this is organized and is put together well. She's always done a great job. To my right, we've got Robin No with No's Jewelry. She's our timer and has been doing that for several years for us. I'd like to thank Jim Fuhrborn and Austin with IT. He's running the cameras, so if I don't look that great, you can blame him. There with the city of Raymore. I also want to thank the North Cass Herald for helping come up with the questions that you'll all be fielding tonight. I'd like to thank just generally the candidates for both school board and for the city council. You guys do an amazing job. We always have a tremendous slate of folks to choose from, and this community runs the way it does largely because of you, so thank you for your time. I'd also like to take a minute or so to thank Mayor Chris Turnbow. He's going to be talking about, I think, the use tax that's on the ballot tonight for the city. Dr. Slagle, he's the superintendent with Ray-Peck Schools. He and Eric Collins will be talking about Proposition S, which is a school bond issue. We'll have a representative from MCC talking about an issue that they're going to have on the ballot as well, along with Bob Houston. He's our Cass County Commissioner. So thank you, folks, for being here. Sure appreciate your time. If we can all stand, and we'll give the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. All right, so we're going to start with City Council. The first thing we'll do is kind of give you an introduction. We'll list each of their names, and then I've got a bio for each that we'll read in just a second. So in Ward 1, we've got two candidates that'll be on the ballot. The first is Dale Jacobson, and then Sinead Candio Mirador. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. Ward 2, we've got two candidates, Joseph Burke III and Joseph Sarsfield. Ward 3 has one candidate running unopposed, Kevin Barber. Ward 4, also running unopposed, is John Berenson. We'll announce the candidates for school board when we get to that portion of tonight's program. Starting with the bios, Dale Jacobson, candidate for City Council Ward 1. Dale has been a resident of Raymore for more than 20 years. Dale was previously on the City Council in Ward 2 from 1998 to 2007. During his time on the council, he served as chairman of the Public Works and Finance Committees and was mayor pro tem for 3 years. Dale currently serves as city councilman for Ward 1 in Raymore. Dale has 3 grown daughters that graduated from Ray-Peck High School. He is a graduate of the University of Missouri, Kansas City, go Kangaroos, and a veteran of the U.S. Army. Dale Jacobson. Then we have Sinead Candias Mirador, candidate for council, Ward 1. Sinead Candias Mirador has lived in Stonegate within Raymore, Missouri since March 15th of 2005. She has been married for over 14 years. She has 2 beautiful, smart preteens, a 12-year-old daughter and a 10-year-old son. She would like to make clear as a member of 2 that she stands for a safe and improved school system within our area. As a former member of the COVID-19 task force within a major hospital in Kansas City, Missouri, the metro area, she strongly supports our safety. As a homeowner, she also represents a voice for homeowners who care about the new developments and what's being developed. She regrets that she does not have the pleasure of making this event. As a Christian, God bless all of you and thank you for your time. Sinead Candias Mirador. Joseph W. Burke III, candidate for City Council, Ward 2. Joe has been married to his wife, Kara, for 20 years. She is a teacher. He is a father of 3. He has 1 daughter and 1 son attending Ray-Peck High School. His oldest son is a Ray-Peck High School 2020 grad and is serving in the Missouri National Guard. He has earned degrees from the University of Missouri, Webster University, and William Woods University. He has earned the Certified Municipal Official from Missouri Municipal League. He was the commissioner for the Charter Review Commission, which was overwhelmingly passed by voters in 2017. He has been a teacher for 22 years at Ray-Pec High School. He has served as a den leader for 5 years and a college soccer coach at Avila University. He was twice elected vice chairman of the Raymore Planning and Zoning Commission and served on the Charter Review Commission. Joseph W. Burke III. Oh, there's one little sentence here, additional. He is also a member of the Raymore Peculiar Sunrise Optimist Club. Thanks, Joe. Joseph Sarsfield, candidate for City Council, Ward 2. Joe Sarsfield has lived in Raymore for the past 13 years and ran his own business for 11 years. He is a veteran of Vietnam and a past member of Raymore's Planning and Zoning Committee. He worked for the state of Pennsylvania for 25 years as an electrical foreman and a facility maintenance manager at various state hospitals and correction facility, which has given him hours of experience in dealing, is that hours or years? Hours of experience in dealing with the public. As the city grows and evolves, he believes that working together will bring out the best for all of us. Joseph Sarsfield. Kevin Barber, candidate for City Council, Ward 3. Kevin Barber was born and raised in the Cass County area. He is a business owner on the east side of Raymore. He and his wife, Rhonda, have 3 children, 2 grown, and a 10th grader at Raymore Peculiar High School. Raymore's safe neighborhoods, affordable housing, and adorable as well, and top-rated school district brought him and his family here 21 years ago, and Raymore's bright future was the main reason they reinvested here with their second home 7 years ago. His family loves their community church. He is an active member of the Raymore Peculiar Sunrise Optimist Club, which he has held in various leadership positions. He also served as mayor pro tem. He would like to see continued planned growth in new businesses and homes. He wants to see continued investments in both parks and recreational facilities. He is very proud of what the council has accomplished over the last 2 years. He understands how important it is for each person on the council to be independent, but at the same time come together as a team in keeping the city moving forward. He believes the best people to serve on the council are the ones that understand that your ego must be checked at the door and only focus on what's best for Raymore. He believes the strength of the current council is its consistency with regards to how it shapes its policies to help encourage planned growth and bring new families and commercial investments to Raymore. He understands the typical day-to-day successes and trials your family experiences because he's right here with you. Kevin Barber. And finally, John Berenson, candidate for City Council, Ward 4. John Berenson and his family moved to Raymore over 10 years ago, drawn to the small-town atmosphere of a great community. He feels that Raymore is uniquely positioned with top-notch schools, low crime rates, and amenities that make it a wonderful city to call home. After serving and retiring from the United States Air Force and traveling to many parts of the world, he was drawn to the sense of community that Raymore is known for. His experiences also taught him to value public service and appreciate being a part of something much greater than himself, such as the great city staff here in Raymore. He deeply appreciates the quality of life his family enjoys here, and it is his desire to preserve it for the future generations. He is currently employed as a project consultant for JJ Roofing and Restoration. His career allows him to do what he truly enjoys, working with others to beautify and protect their homes while making their lives less stressful and their homes more valuable. In the past 4 years as a councilman, he has witnessed steady and responsible growth of the city, directed by a staff that is attentive and responsive to the wants and needs of the citizens. It is his desire to continue to be a part of Raymore's growth of new businesses and the building of new neighborhoods while steadfastly preserving the rich history and small-town feel that we are known for. He truly appreciates this opportunity to introduce himself and looks forward to continuing to serve the voters in Ward 4 as their councilman. John Berenson. Okay, so as usual, we have questions for you. There are going to be 3 of them. And we'll kind of mix up who we start and finish with. like we've done in the past. You'll each have 2 minutes. I think when we get to 30 seconds, Ms. No is going to hold up a sign that says 30 seconds. And if we can just try to stay within that time barrier, I think everybody would appreciate it. So let's get started with question 1. We'll start with Dale, and we'll go this way, and we'll end with Kevin Barber. Question 1, what is your purpose for serving on the City Council, and what would you like to accomplish?
Well, my purpose is, after you served on the City Council as long as I have, you start getting that in your blood. I have people talk to me periodically about being a politician. I make it clear I'm not a politician, I'm a public servant. And what I want to do is try to do the best thing I can to make sure that the community grows. We have an outstanding community. I think it proved over the last year when you would see your neighbors out jogging and talking. And so I want to see that continue. I've had an opportunity to get involved with it for the last 2 years. I would like to see some of the projects that we have in mind continue. Economic development, opportunity for jobs with our industrial park off of North Cass Parkway. And then also just with the recent GO bond passing, thank you to the residents of Raymore. Now we can start working on road improvements. We've done a great job on our parks and rec, as was mentioned earlier in the bio, and I want to see that continue as well. Basically, all of these things kind of boil into one and create the symmetry of an incredible community. You have jobs, you have opportunities to get out and enjoy the Parks and Recs department, you have safe roads. We continually, in the survey that we put out, rank with our residents tops in safety in this city. And that's our police force, that's our roads, that's our planning and zoning, the way we're putting the way we put our homes and our developments together. And so I'd like to see all of that continue because we're on a roll. It feels like we're firing on all cylinders right now. And I want to continue to help push that rock up the hill. Thank you.
Thank you, Dale. Joe.
Thank you. My purpose on being City Council is giving back in a different way. I've done lots of different things that have allowed me to give to my community, but most of the time it's been as a career. And one of the things that I figured out that we could do to improve not only our city but also our school district is as our city grows, as we run another no tax bond and grow and build more parks, our assessed valuation goes up, which directly helps the school district run another no tax bond. Right now it's unheard of to be able to do 2 of those in less than 5 years, and that's happened at the city and it's also happening at the school district, and I wish them success with that. Mainly I like to go out and communicate with the constituents and find out what their problems are, and it's fun to come back and see it completed, a project that needed to be done, and then later on a person is happy with the street front in front of their house. It's been great today. I talked to former students. I talked to 3 different generations of one family that I've worked with in town today, and it's just fun to get to know your neighbors and help them. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. And Joe.
Good evening.
Hang on one second, Joe. Hang on. We are experiencing technical difficulties. All right, Joe.
Good evening. I think the main thing I wanted to become a member of is that to represent the people of Raymore. I want to make impressions because I think some of the people I've talked to feel that sometimes their voice isn't being heard. That's part of it. The other part is that was a bigger concern of mine is that when I moved here 12, 13 years ago, it was a nice little hamlet, as the saying goes. And in just 13 years, I think the population has over doubled. And I found out from other small towns I lived in back east that they were so anxious to grow and keep up with the Joneses, so to speak. You know, they got a new gym, we got to get a new gym. They got a new this, we got to get a new this, and so forth. And it got to the point where they were past the point of no return. They got in so much debt, then they couldn't do nothing because they were playing catch up, catch up, catch up. And I'm feeling that all the stuff that we've made in Raymore, the progress we've made with our parks especially, and other things, the police force and the people and the go between everyone, I think it has to, we slow down a little bit just to catch our breath. I'm not saying don't grow anymore. I'm not saying don't bring industry in. I'm not saying don't bring more housing in. I'm just saying we have to slow down, look at the picture, and if we've got to put stuff on hold for a year, so to speak, let's do it. We're not going to close the doors. Raymore's not going to go away in that period, but it's just going to benefit everyone for us to catch up, catch our breath, and say, especially with what's going on now, we don't know how long this COVID stuff is going to last and what's going to happen with jobs, this and that. It just seems that every month it seems that something else. And so it's a good time to stop and take our breath.
Thanks, Joe. And finally, Kevin.
Thank you, Brent. Could you repeat the question, please?
Certainly. Question 1. What is your purpose for serving on the city council, and what would you like to accomplish?
Well, my purpose, this will be my 4th term, and my purpose hasn't changed, and that's first and foremost is to serve the residents of Ward 3 and also all the residents of Raymore. And I think it was said by Councilman Jacob, we're not politicians, we're servants for the people. What I'd like to accomplish, there's a couple things I'd like to keep continuing, which is not like an accomplishment, but I'm proud of the fact that since I've been on the council, we have not raised taxes in Raymore. We rolled the levy back in some cases, some years, and we've kept it the same. Now, different things have caused our property taxes to go up, but it's not because of what the city is doing. The city's had a surplus of budget each year that I've served, and we've done a great job of staff as well as council's done a great job of spending that wisely. In fact, this last year we didn't spend it at all because we didn't know what 2020 was going to do. And because of the responsibility of staff and the current council, this city did not have to lay anybody off during the COVID crisis. We kept city services up to par, and in some cases, as our survey showed, we've improved in a lot of areas. What I'd like to see accomplished is one of the things that keeps coming back, and it affects my ward and it affects people in Raymore, is the connectivity, getting in and out of the city. And we've done some things to help with that, but there's more we need to do. But I'd like to see that in this next 2 years that we can improve on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Now on to question 2. What we'll do here is let's start with Joe, and we'll work our way around to Dale, all right? So Joe, here's question 2. Is our community financially secure enough to consider a property tax reduction for its residents?
That's a very interesting question. That's a good question. I don't think it's been one that's been broached, but I definitely have said many, actually in 2015 I said this. I said we need to grow career type jobs in this city, not just minimum wage jobs or jobs that you need to have 2 or 3 of those type of jobs to be able to buy your own health care or something like that. But we are starting to do that out on North Cass Parkway now. And what I believe will happen as we grow is the tax burden will be alleviated in some ways because it has only been from homeowners for the 20 years that I've been here. And as we grow with industry, there's going to be some opportunity where we might be able to look at things like that. But we'll have to see as soon as they get the small warehouse done, and then they'll build the others.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Joe?
I think we may have a surplus, and I congratulate everyone that had something to do with that, but we also need more police. We need better maintenance. Not that what we have is wrong. It's just that they're overworked, okay? They could use a little bit of relief, especially last month, a couple months ago with the snow and everything. So the surplus might look good on the books today, but until I think some of those positions should be filled, we may not have that big of a surplus. The other thing is, I noticed this coming back and forth and doing my handyman business. I'm on the road a lot. And I was stopped on the bridge to help someone at Cass Parkway, and I noticed the traffic that just keeps going through and keeps going down and down and down. And in the morning, going north on 71, that is leaving Raymore. So why are they leaving? There's no jobs here, real jobs, industrial jobs. You know, something you don't have to work 3 jobs to pay your life insurance, like Joe said. We need to bring in more, not super industry. I mean, if someone's willing to come, that's fine, but to bring in something so the people that want to live here don't have to drive 30, 40 miles to get to work every day and come back. It's in our, and we have the room to grow in that respect.
Sure.
So that's the type of thing of growth that I think we need more than more restaurants. You know, that type of thing. We have enough here. And I think just on top of that is that we have to focus our priorities to what kind of industry we want to come into. We don't want anything that pollutes, of course, but we want good paying jobs, not a bunch of 200 part-time workers instead of 50 full-time workers. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Kevin?
I believe the question was, do we see Raymore at a point that financially that we could reduce the property tax? Is that correct?
Sure.
Okay. And we have done that in some years. We actually have rolled the levy back. Like I said in my first statement, we've done that, and we've not raised it since I've been on the council. I would note that there is to the voters, there is a use tax, and that model kind of goes together with, people's purchasing habits are changing, and more people are buying online. So as that happens, our local retailers and people that sell here in Raymore, businesses, it affects them. And so, and that does affect the money that goes into the city. And that could, the outcome could be that taxes could have to go up because of that. But I would always be in favor of a tax reduction. I don't like to pay taxes. But at the same time, the money has to come from somewhere. And it's, like I said, as the spending habits change, we have to look at other areas of revenue. So the voters will have an opportunity to look at that and make a decision on what they want to do with that. It does another thing, too. It helps level the playing field for our local businesses, and I think that's important. I know it's important to this Chamber of Commerce because you support our local businesses. So, yeah, I think that that's looked at every year. I think if you look at our city, we do budget, and we plan for events like we just had this last year, these snow events, these different things like that. So we don't have to go in debt, and we don't have to, because of our poor planning and staff's poor planning, have to raise taxes in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. And finally, Dale.
Yeah, thank you, sir. As Councilman Barber mentioned, we have done that in the past. I would say right now it would probably not be a good idea simply coming off of the COVID year. Obviously, people were staying at home. They weren't purchasing as much. Taxes were down. We were fortunate, the city was fortunate that we kept our head above water, while a lot of the cities and towns around us did not. So while I would certainly be in favor of rolling back taxes, because I don't know of anybody who likes to pay taxes. I don't think that's in our DNA. But at the same time, we have, timing is everything in everything you do. And I think in this particular instance, coming off of 2020, which I think we can all admit was an awfully rough year. Yeah, so rolling back our portion of the property taxes, and I want to make sure that, we all understand the property tax the property tax bill itself goes to many districts, county, school district, as well as us. So we're talking about rolling back our portion, then certainly I would love to take a look at it and see if there's something we can do with that. Regarding staffing, as Councilman Barber said, a lot of the things that are being mentioned we're already addressing. We have a use tax on the ballot coming up, and that's strictly for staffing to improve. I think there's, I'd hate to go into mention exactly because Mr. Fearborn would know better than myself, but I know we've talked about police, maintenance, parks, that sort of thing.
Sure.
So we have a use tax coming up that will address those types of things. I'm all about economic development. Let's bring in some more commercial development, and those types of things will also help us reduce property tax and take the tax burden off the citizens of Raymore. I'm a big believer in that. Anything we can do for that, I'm for. Thank you.
Thanks, Dale. Now on to question 3. And what we'll do here is we're going to start with Kevin, work our way around, and we'll end with Joe Sarsfield. All right? Kevin, question number 3. What is an issue or problem that you think needs to be improved or fixed in Raymore?
Well, I think I mentioned it in what I'd like to accomplish in these next 2 years, and that's to improve our connectivity in and out of our city. I think if you look at the citizen survey, that was the #1 thing that got the lowest marks on was 58 Highway getting out to 49, and Madison 155th getting out to 150. Everything else, pretty much, the city had very high marks on: safety, Parks and Rec, Public Works. The unfortunate thing is the connectivity out of our city, for the most part, we don't have any control over. So it takes some really strong planning and politicking to get some of this done. And I know we've budgeted money to do that, and we're working on that right now. We have a councilman that's on the, and I forget the name, but it's the Transportation Committee, and that's a first for us. And so we have a voice, and we are working towards that. But we do know that for our city to keep improving and growing, that problem needs to be addressed. Like I said, the unfortunate thing is we don't have control over it. But remember back, we didn't have control over 155th Street, and the city staff was able to work a deal with Kansas City where we, for the first time, got a bit of Raymore in Jackson County. And now we got 155th Street, the bridge, the improvement, and that is so much better than it used to be. So I have faith that we will come up with a solution somehow. We will work with some other entities and get that work through. And again, I think the biggest problem is getting in and out of the city, and I'd like to see that improve. Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin. Dale.
Thanks, Brent. Well, connectivity is a big thing for me as well, and Councilman Barber covered it very well, so I won't go much more into that. Along with that, a specific project in the connectivity world I'd like to see addressed is the bridge over 71 on 58 Highway, I-49 now. And I know we have endeavored to try to do something with that. I know we've talked with the county, City of Belton, and we're all in agreement. We've talked with the state. We've tried to do some work on that, and we are still going to continue to try to push that. I think that would be, I think everybody in this area would love that if we could fix that and get kind of a clover leaf or something going there. So from that standpoint, I do consider that a connectivity between the two cities, and of course, everybody's going to enjoy the traffic flow in that particular instance. Economic development has always been a huge thing for me. I was the secretary of the Cass County Parkway project that we did back in 2006 to put in North Cass Parkway. One of the big purposes of that was not only to alleviate traffic on 58 and Lucy Webb, but also to give us a commercial corridor so that we can put businesses, industries down there. 58 is getting a little full at this point. There's only so much more you can do. So North Cass would be perfect for us. And at some point, we're going to take the outer road on down to where we have frontage on I-49, and that will attract businesses as well. So if you improve the connectivity on I-49, you get your economic development out there off North Cass, as well as here also. Then you start having a flow of labor force coming in, and again, that rolls into your previous question about reducing the tax burden on the residents. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thanks, Dale. Joe.
Thank you. When I started on planning and zoning in 2013, one of our first meetings that had quite a few people come and speak to the topic was talking about the connectivity, being able to go north-south, going east and west, and at that time I think we were still dealing with the Grandview Triangle. But so I had a lot to say on that subject that night, thinking that I had any business talking about it on planning and zoning. And it wasn't really the appropriate place to do it. And I've learned a lot since then, but it's still an issue. And one of the things that is happening, though, is we have a partnership with Belton, we have a partnership with the county, and the three entities are working together to try to get state and federal funds to increase the lanes from 155th Street on I-49, Interstate 49 or 71 Highway, whichever you remember it by, all the way, so we'd have 3 lanes on each side, all the way down to North Cass Parkway. This not only will help us, it'll help Belton, and it'll also help Harrisonville. As more people are able to get south and north, it's going to help the whole county benefit. And as the county benefits, we will benefit, the school will benefit. And it's one of those partnerships where it's growth helps more growth. And, but we certainly don't have the money to do it ourselves, so we have to work with others. The other thing I wanted to say is, I think a priority for me right now is people are hungry. They're hungry for entertainment. We have an amphitheater that we've barely been able to use because of COVID, and as soon as everybody feels comfortable again, we've all had I had my second shot today. As soon as we all feel comfortable in large groups again, I think we really need to provide entertainment. We need to provide food trucks and bands and theater or whatever we can put in the amphitheater every weekend, and attract more people that, quality people that want to come and live in our town. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. No worries.
Yeah, it's.
All right. Finally, Joe, question 3.
Is it safe to talk?
It's
I think the biggest thing, I agree with everyone here for the most part on it. I don't really disagree with them. But I think the biggest thing is industry coming into town. We talked about traffic. We talked about crowded highway, crowded going through Raymore, and I see that up on 58 going crazy, going all the way out to 291. And I'm just like, where are these people going to? You know what I mean? You think it was the last building place they were at, and they keep on going. The other thing was, if you keep industry, if you get the right industry to come to Raymore, it does 3 things. It takes care of some of the traffic problem because you're not traveling all over the place to get back to work, to get back home. Number 1, you work in Raymore, you live in Raymore, and you do more shopping in Raymore. Not that I'm in Lee Summit or I'm in Lakewood or some other place. I want to get that on the way home, honey. I'll stop in somewhere else. At least you get it. So they're already here. And as far as the internet and people buying stuff, if everybody would just think of in the last year, how many things have you bought on the internet from Amazon or whoever? It doesn't matter. I bought over 150 things. Not one of them I could find in Raymore, Lee Summit, Belton, Harrisonville, or anything. They aren't here. So we could say it's a good idea to do that, and all that, but if they're not here for me to buy, it doesn't make any difference whether I go on the internet or not because the store isn't here. So if we bring in different types of industry, and people will buy here, made in America brand, right here, not some company that doesn't really care. They're here in 3 years and they leave again. Put their feet to the fire. Say, look, you have a nice place to be here. It's a growing population, et cetera. Good schools, good this, good that, good recreation. Why wouldn't you want to stay here a longer time? Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. So what we're going to give you each is a chance to wrap up. We're going to have a 1-minute wrap up. You can say whatever you want during that time frame. You can comment on my new haircut if you'd like, but anyway. We'll start with Joe Sarsfield, and we'll work our way to Joe Burke. Joe, 1 minute.
I think we basically covered everything. I think the community working together is the biggest part. I think the streets are safe. I sometimes question some of the speed limits because we all know that when your speed limit is 35, everybody does 55 anyway. Need more police coverage for safety, and not so much 24/7, but during rush hour peaks and when you really need it. I almost got pushed off the road the other day by a guy with a trailer, and I was doing 40 mile an hour like I was supposed to be, and he must have passed me at 60 down in front of the bank and right across the street. I mean, he didn't care, went through the red light and the whole thing. I think more visible cars or policemen on bikes or whatever, just to slow them down. Just that if you see someone, they'll slow it down without weaving in and out of traffic. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. Kevin?
Again, thank you, Brett, the Raymore Chamber of Commerce and city staff for putting this forum together. I'd also like to thank the Ward 3 residents for their confidence. I'll be seeking my 4th term this April 6th, and since I'm running unopposed, I think I got a good shot getting reelected. Remember, your city services and local government has a major impact on your daily lives. Your streets, your sidewalks, your water and sewer, your safety, your parks. There's a lot on the ballot that directly affects your quality of life this April 6th, and a lot that will keep Raymore moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Dale?
Thank you, Brent, and thank you for doing this. I don't know how many years you've done this now, but you've done it for a long time, and I sure appreciate your time and the Chamber sponsoring this sort of thing, so thanks to all of you. I think I'll probably wrap it up the same way I started. I consider myself a public servant. I have no agendas other than what's best for the city of Raymore. I want to thank all of the residents of Ward 1 and frankly the city of Raymore for putting their trust in me. You know, I had an opportunity this year to take a leadership course with the Missouri Municipal League, which basically is a think tank that teaches you to be better elected official. And I did that so I could be a better elected official. And one of the things I found out, which I kind of knew all along, is that you'll find out that 20% of the people of your constituents agree with you, 20% of them are going to disagree with you, and 60% are worried about that night's soccer game. And so I want to be able to represent everybody, and for them to put their trust in me to make these decisions when they have their lives to live and go out and do the things that they need to do. I really appreciate that and thank them, and I want them to be able to go do the things that they want to do and know that I'm going to take care of them. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dale. And finally, Joe Burke.
Thank you. I think the biggest thing that we benefit from here in this community is the ability to work with others. The fire department isn't controlled by the city, so we have to work with them. We have to cooperate with them. We have to cooperate with our surrounding communities. We have to cooperate. Our school district has 8 different communities within the school district, if you include county residents as well. It's all about finding ways to use our taxes responsibly so that we just don't pick one group of people to make happy, but we try to find lots of different things, different parks in different regions of the city, and make sure that we're doing things for the retired and the working and the youth. And if we spread it out and make sure that everyone's being served, people won't feel like that their taxes are going for nothing. And I think that's very important. Our taxes, we all put our money in together. We all need good roads. We all need good homes. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. And once again, thank you, gentlemen. I sure appreciate everything that you do for our city. Thank you for being here tonight, and best of luck to each of you in the upcoming election. We're going to have about a 10-minute break. As much as I'd like to have you all stick around for the remainder of the event, the COVID restrictions and the protocol here would require for you to leave, and so we'll look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you. All right, guys, what we're going to do is, hang on one second. All right, guys, to continue on tonight, before we get to the school board candidates, we've got some prepared remarks by various folks representing various issues. So first of all, if we could have Mayor Chris Turnbow come up representing the city of Raymore. And before he begins his remarks, we do have a short video. If you'll take a look at that on the screen. Thank you. Five minutes after the video.
You ready? I'm ready. Yep.
The City of Raymore is asking residents to consider a local use tax on the April 6th ballot. Why? We've known internally for some time that additional positions are needed in our police, public works, and parks departments. These needs were verified by an independent staffing study. The City of Raymore has more square miles, more miles of streets, more athletic fields, and more acres of parkland for our residents than many nearby cities with about the same population. However, we have fewer employees to take care of those areas than those surrounding cities do. As residents continually place public safety at the top of the priority list, the City of Raymore has fewer police officers for our residents than the national average and several area communities. Approval of a local use tax will allow 5 new additional full-time police officers to serve our community. Currently, each public works maintenance worker is responsible for serving more residents and maintaining more miles of streets than other communities around us, and our parks maintenance workers are responsible for maintaining more parks, athletic fields, and trails than those in surrounding communities. Approval of a local use tax will also fund 5 new full-time public works maintenance workers, 3 new parks maintenance workers, and 1 new recreation worker. We are dedicated to a high-quality workforce, and the addition of these boots-on-the-ground workers will allow the city to continue to provide the exceptional service our residents expect in our growing community. The addition of these workers will directly affect you and set the standard for a safe and secure community with beautiful and well-maintained parks, streets, and public spaces. What is a use tax? Let's say you're shopping at Raymore's Wildwood Boutique and purchase a coat rack. You pay for the item and you pay sales tax. Let's look at just the state and city sales tax breakdowns. You pay the state of Missouri a sales tax of 4.225% and the city of Raymore a sales tax rate of 2.5%. Now, if you shop online and purchase a coat rack, you still pay for the product, but the tax equation is different. Instead of a state sales tax of 4.225%, you're charged a state use tax of 4.225%. However, when you shop online from an out-of-state vendor, such as Amazon, the city receives nothing since a local use tax is not in place. Voter approval of a local use tax will close that tax gap and allow the city to receive the same 2.5% from an online purchase it would receive if the coat rack were purchased in a Raymore store. Local sales tax revenues, which the city relies on heavily to fund essential city services, have been declining as more and more consumers are choosing to shop online. More than 200 cities in Missouri already have a voter-approved local use tax in place to fund essential city services. For more information, including the entire staffing study and a list of answers to frequently asked questions, visit www.raymore.com/use tax or contact Assistant City Manager Mike Eakey at 3109.
Austin, let me know when I'm back on here, okay? Hold on just a second. It's got to switch the camera. Yeah. We need one. Okay, are we good to go? Okay, so we have the camera back on here. You saw the video that the city put together with regard to the use tax. It's a great video, very informative, and tells precisely what the use tax is going to do. I want to give you a little bit of a historical perspective on that tonight, from the city's perspective. About 5 or 6 years ago, the state began to debate on whether or not they would pass a wayfarer tax. The wayfarer tax was given the generic term of that because a lot of online purchases were being made. Over the last year under COVID, quite a few purchases were made online in order for people to remain protected from the pandemic. What that did show us, though, is that there is a constant flow of vehicles delivering those products across our streets and bridges here in Raymore and across our area, creating additional maintenance costs that will probably eat into the general obligation or the general fund of the budget. When they were talking about the wayfarer tax, the general fund is not what we wish to affect. What we want to do is specifically spend this money that would be collected by the 2.5% use tax on personnel, additional personnel for the city. We're told now we are on the cusp of necessary increases in personnel. We've not had any. In some areas of the city, we've not had any additional personnel since 2006. And the police department's last addition was in 2011. So it's been quite a while since we've added full-time personnel to the budget of the city. The use tax would allow us to hire 5 officers this year, as she said. It would allow us 3 maintenance workers and 2 parks personnel in the first year over a 5-year plan to increase the number of people here in the city so that our services continue to grow and continue to be effective and provide the kind of beautifications to our infrastructure and the safety to our city that our services presently provide. We are, again, focused on that specifically, not just putting money into the general fund to be used willy-nilly. This is for additional personnel. And we know that many cities failed on the use tax because they said they didn't have a purpose in mind. That's why we did the study, the manpower study, in order to let folks know here in our community what those needs are. And we're hoping that when you go to the polls that you'll choose to support additional personnel and to maintain our city services. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Turnbow. Next, we'll invite Dr. Slagle. He's the superintendent of Raymore Peculiar School District. Dr. Slagle.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Ewert. On April the 6th, voters in the Ray-Pec School District will have the opportunity to vote on a $72 million no tax rate increase bond election for the Raymore Peculiar School District. This election, the ballot for the election, has been the culmination of over 19 months worth of planning and deliberation by our Board of Education, several committees that we've taken a look at, as well as over 25 presentations, 3 community surveys, and taking a look at our enrollment growth over time to try to figure out how we provide for our students and staff over the next several years. I'm pleased to present you this no tax rate increase bond election on April the 6th that does 3 primary things. Number 1, it addresses our student enrollment concerns, especially at the high school, by constructing a freshman center, which is the first phase of that second high school on the East Middle School campus. Secondly, it takes a real aim at our student opportunities. We have 2 facets in the bond election around student opportunities. We've recently purchased the old Olsen's facility at 58 Highway in Fox Ridge to transform that into a new educational space, as well as a performing arts center that would be constructed on the current Ray-Pec High School campus that will not only provide our students in the performing and fine arts opportunities that they don't currently have, but also as a give back to our community as a meeting space for the Ray-Pec School District. And lastly, with over 1.2 million square feet of space across this school district, we have ongoing maintenance needs. So being a good steward of the things that we already have been given are part of this bond election as well. I'd like to invite Mr. Eric Collins, a local attorney who's chaired our committee here in Ray-Pec to bring more information to our community. So, Mr. Collins.
Thank you, Dr. Slagle. Good evening. I'm Eric Collins, and I'm the chairman of the Citizens for Ray-Pec Schools Committee. I'm also a small business owner in the district and a father of a current freshman at Ray-Pec High School and a 2020 graduate from Ray-Pec High School. I'm here this evening seeking your support for Proposition S, a $72 million no tax rate increase bond issue. My wife and I in 2004 elected to make Raymore our home in large part because of the quality of the school district. The quality of our schools continues to drive growth today. As a result of such growth, it is necessary to expand and improve upon our physical plant to accommodate current and future enrollment projections, to provide facilities of the type expected for a district of Ray-Pec stature, to expand career-oriented education and real-world learning opportunities, and to care for and maintain the district's existing physical plant. Through preliminary studies and through communications the committee's had with district patrons, we've received overwhelming support of Proposition S. Now is not the time, however, to rest on our laurels. It is imperative that we make it to the polls on Tuesday, April 6th to vote yes on S. On behalf of the Ray-Pec School District and the Citizens for Ray-Pec Schools Committee, thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight to discuss Proposition S with you. I hope you will join me at the polls on April 6th and that you will vote yes on S. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric and Dr. Slagle. Sure appreciate your time. Now, MCC also has an issue that's going to be on the ballot. They've been invited to be here, and they were unable to send a representative. So the last speaker we have for this portion of tonight's event is Bob Houston, our Cass County Commissioner. Bob?
Thanks, Brent. As he said, I'm Bob Houston. I'm the presiding commissioner of Cass County, but tonight I'm here as Bob Houston, citizen of Cass County, taxpayer, dad, neighbor, and come Tuesday, April 6th, on the ballot there's going to be an issue. It's a very deceptive issue if you read the language, and I'm going to read it to you here real quick and give you some facts on it so you're informed when you go to the polls on this issue. It's just called question, and it says, for the purpose of providing greater affordable access to quality higher education by providing in-district tuition rates for residents within the Raymore Peculiar School District, shall the Raymore Peculiar School District be attached to the Junior College District of Metropolitan Kansas City, Missouri? And it's a yes or no question. While reading the ballot language, it sounds like a great idea. They left one thing off it: what it's going to cost you. From the school district alone, the people that live within the boundaries of it, it's going to be about $1.3 million. That money is going to go north to Jackson County to help subsidize their campuses. I believe we have about 64 students last year graduated that used the metropolitan community colleges. And if you're looking at $1.3 million every year from here going forward, that's a lot of money for a few students that use that. Now, I will tell you, they didn't come here tonight because they knew I'd ask questions why they didn't tell the public that it was going to cost you. Anyone that reads the ballot language, it sounds great, but it is a tax increase. In fact, they've spent over $100,000 promoting that, trying to get this passed. They've put it in 8 school districts for this election. They'll tell you that they did this by the law where they didn't have to tell you what it was going to cost you. That's what the law said. What they don't tell you is 2 years ago, they hired a lobbyist to change the law so they didn't have to tell you. So they've been extremely deceitful, and you need to make sure that you're informed about how to vote on this. I attended Longview Community College, got my associate's degree, I feel like I got a good education for the price I paid, but I also feel like they need to give all the information that it's going to cost the taxpayers. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. And we're going to take a very short break while we allow the candidates for the Ray-Pec School District Board of Education to make it to the stand, and we'll be with you in a minute. Thank you. All right, guys. Hey, thanks for being here tonight. I sure appreciate it. As a former school board member, I know what you guys go through regularly to make sure that our schools are on great footing, and so thanks for being here tonight. Just like we did with the city council, I'm going to name off or list all of the candidates who are running, and then we'll get to your questions. Is that okay? So we've got Susan Edmondson. We've got Athenia Ingram, Janet Jones, Billy King, Deanna Olsen, and Thomas Walsh. You all provided bios, and so we'll take a second to read through those, if that's okay. Susan Edmondson, candidate for Ray-Pec School Board. Susan Edmondson has lived in Cass County since 1989. She graduated from Belton High School in 1993. She married Jeff in 1994 and has 3 boys, Kevin, Jacob, and Trent. They moved to Raymore in 2005 to raise their boys in a school district with excellent academics. In 2002, Susan received her Bachelor of Science in Accounting from UMKC. Go Kangaroos. Since graduation, she's been blessed to have a position in the accounting field, which a lot of graduates just don't. Susan has served on finance committees for her church and is currently serving on the finance committee for the Blue River Kansas City Baptist Organization. Her passion is to serve the community in which she lives and make sure every student succeeds. Susan Edmondson. Janet Jones, candidate for Raymore Peculiar School Board. Janet Jones is one of the 6 candidates running for a seat on the Raymore Peculiar School Board on April 6, 2021. She studied accounting and finance at Blue River Community College. After working 15-plus years in the financial world, she decided a change was needed. For over the past 6 years, she has worked for a general contractor, land developer, overseeing the daily operations. She has lived in the Raymore Peculiar School District for the past 6.5 years. Between her husband and herself, they have 4 children in the district, 3 sophomores at Ray-Pec High School, and 1 in pre-K at Shull. They enjoy watching their children do what they love, whether it is dancing, cheering, baseball, t-ball, or piano lessons. There is never a dull moment in their household. Janet Jones. Billy King, candidate for Raymore Peculiar School District. Billy King has been a resident of the Raymore Peculiar School District for over 40 years. He studied at Longview Community College and Southwest Baptist University. He started a telecommunications company in 2001 and a second hosted VoIP company in 2009. His family is his life. He and his wife Robin are both Ray-Pec grads. They have 4 children. When not working, he spends his time with his wife and children. Billy King. Deanna Olsen, candidate for Raymore Peculiar School Board. Deanna Olsen and her husband Nate graduated from Raymore Peculiar High School. Her maiden name is Looney. They have 3 children in 9th, 7th, and 3rd grades. She has a master's degree in accounting from Missouri State, has worked 15 years at KPMG RSM, and is the CFO of an insurance company. Her first priority is to work with the administration and staff to get our students back to school. Her second priority is to meet the needs of the next generation, VIPR, in classes teaching life, marketable skills, and her third priority is to help make teachers successful with targeted professional learning that is effective and efficient. Deanna Olsen. Thomas Walsh, candidate for Raymore Peculiar School Board. Thomas Walsh has lived in Raymore for 20 years with a son in 9th grade and a daughter in 5th grade. He is an elementary school social worker in the Shawnee Mission School District, and for the last 22 years, he has been an advocate for children and mental health. He works every day with kids in school. He also provides local counseling. He is a member of the NEA and active in the Kansas School Social Work Association. This would be his first elected position. To be honest, he was compelled to run out of disappointment with the district and a desire to improve conditions for students and families. He knows the frustration parents feel when they believe the school is not treating them well. He understands the concerns of teachers and their struggle to pay bills while pursuing their careers. He sympathizes with the business community and retired folks who worry about the goings-on with the school board. He wants to be an advocate for those who feel voiceless, an advocate for students and families. He may not have all the answers, but he knows what is right for students, families, and teachers. He wishes to accomplish the following. 1, better conditions and compensation for teachers. We need to look at salaries across the board and compared to similar districts. 2, more options and services for students, virtual options, career options, mental health and dyslexia services, and smaller class sizes. And 3, building new buildings, we need to consider social distancing, gender-neutral facilities, and traffic patterns. He's looking to be a representative of the community and asks for your support. Thomas Walsh. Sorry, I was on another page. All right, just as we had with the city council candidates, you each have 3 questions. You'll have 2 minutes to answer each question. When we're at 30 seconds, Robin will hold up a sign that says 30 seconds. Then at the end, you'll each have a 1-minute wrap-up like we gave the city council. So let's start with Susan Edmondson. And question number 1 is, what is your stance on the Metropolitan Community College ballot initiative? Susan.
At first, I was kind of for it, but the more I hear about it, I am not for it because
Hang on one second. Is your microphone on by chance?
It got the green
Okay.
buttons on.
Yeah.
Can you not hear me?
No.
Or I'll sit closer. Sorry. Originally, I was kind of leaning towards it because of the tuition part of it. But the more I hear about it and the more I read about it, I'm not for it at all because the questioning on the ballot is very deceiving and it doesn't tell us the whole, it doesn't give us the big picture of things. So there is a tax increase in it, and I don't really feel like I want to pay for that as a taxpayer for however long they say it's going to pay just to benefit a small portion and just a small dollar amount for our students or even for residents that want to go to the junior college.
Thank you, Susan. Deanna.
I am not for it. The reasons are I feel that anything that can be deceptive on a ballot that is not giving all of the information is not something that we should ask our taxpayers to do. If you read the ballot, yeah, who wouldn't be for including our district in? But the reason is because there is a tax increase, and when you look at the numbers, our kids at school have A+ if they want to do that, which then gives them a greater discount in their tuition. I understand there may be some adults that are looking at that, but the adults or whomever doesn't qualify for A+, the numbers just don't make sense. We're all going to pay an additional amount. Every single person is going to pay an additional amount for a very small number of people that are going to benefit. And for that, just doesn't make financial sense. And it doesn't stop. It's, unless we vote on it to stop, it stays forever. So I would much rather us keep the money here and use it and vote yes on the use tax than on the metropolitan community so that our community can benefit.
Thank you, Deanna. Thomas.
We've got some really smart people running for the school board, and it's wonderful. We have these accountants and people who know this stuff really well. And I agree with my my fellow people running for office. I think there's a lot of questions about this, and until we have more of the answers, it's hard to sell that to the voters. We should support lifelong learning, and we should find a way to make that happen. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Thomas. Question 2, we'll start with Deanna. We'll work our way around to Susan. Question 2, what do you see as the biggest challenge facing the school district over the next year?
Without a doubt, the biggest challenge is getting our kids back into school full-time for those that desire it. We need to get them back to reset them. We need to give teachers the ability to help reset them. Our kids now have all sorts of different ways to communicate, and we can see it in the workforce that as your children progress, or even in your own home, the communication becomes with your fingers, not with your mouth and your eyes. And so we have a very big challenge to not only get them back into school, to reset them for academic excellence. if it needs to be turned in, it should be turned in when it's supposed to be turned in, and you get graded on that so that we can get them back to routines, we can get them back to other adults that care, that can talk to them differently. Not all children respond super well to their parents nagging them, whatever. But I think a lot of kids are missing that other emotional connection and developing connections with respected individuals and teachers. So getting us back is the short-term, 1-year biggest challenge.
Thank you, Deanna. Thomas.
I'm looking at where I work in Shawnee Mission, and they already have this in motion where students are back. And so I think that's coming, and I think that's not going to be, we're not going to stop that. So I think the challenge really is, do we want to go back to school the way it was, or do we want to look at this pandemic as an opportunity to forge the schools of the future, where we give kids more space, that they might be healthier with a little more room? I've been to several of the schools in the district, picking up my kids or being part of a party. I was astounded one day when I had to call my daughter out of class, and she had to like literally climb over people's book bags and weave her way through desks just to get out the door. I would like to see less kids in the classroom and bigger rooms. I think teachers will agree that effective learning occurs when classrooms are smaller. So the big challenge for the future is to help our teachers on the front line have what they need, and that is smaller class sizes, which means also more space. That's our challenge.
Thank you, Thomas. I appreciate that. And in keeping with the order that we're moving, we're going to start question 3 with Thomas and work our... Huh? Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
That's fine.
Susan.
I do agree with Deanna. Our big challenge is to get the kids back in school. I watched an interview with 3 doctors today, and they were saying there was no reason for our kids to ever be out of school. They said that back in August, and they've said it again this morning when I was watching an interview with them. We are facing, yes, I understand it's a pandemic. I understand that this virus is real, but we are facing so much academic decline and so many mental health issues with these kids. I see it in my own son. He struggles. He has an IEP, and he struggles with this, and we have failed him. It took me a long time to get the school district to test him, and that's the first reason I ran for school board the first time. But now we're failing him again. He's not getting that extra help that he needs, and his mental health is, I see it declining, because he got to play sports, thank goodness, because that, and some kids don't get that. They don't play sports for whatever reason. They need the socialization. People are meant to be social people. We are meant to have relationships. So I really feel we that's going to be our big challenge when school starts back up in August, is just to, like she said, to reset them.
Sure.
We're going to have so many mental health issues with kids because they're not going to know how to act in the class anymore. The list just goes on the challenges that we're going to have, I think, when school restarts. And then they want kids, the testing and just the structure of being in a classroom, and then learning the rules again. And the list could go on and on. We could probably all sit up here and come up with 20 different challenges that we're going to face when school starts in August.
Susan, thank you. Now on to question 3. I apologize for that little difficulty there. We'll start with Thomas, and we'll end up finishing with Deanna, and then we'll do our 1-minute wrap-up. So question 3, Thomas. Do you feel that the Proposition S is an effective step to handle the district's growth, and what will be the next step?
Thank you for the question, and I think I'd like to also thank Susan for bringing up mental health and special ed and our students on 504 plans. That is a big concern. We're fortunate in our district that we fund social workers, and that's something I'm passionate about for our district. We need social workers, and mental health is really important. Yes, the ballot initiative to build is definitely needed. We need more space. It's no surprise that bullying reports are lower during this pandemic. There's less kids. When we don't cram kids together, they get along better, and they're healthier. And so, yes, we need to build these buildings, and we need to make sure these buildings have large enough spaces for our kids who are growing. The class sizes of the 1970s don't work for us anymore. So we need to consider those things. I would encourage people to vote for that measure. It's very important that we fund these things. We need a second high school. And other schools too, elementary schools, we need the facilities and so forth. Yes, very important that we fund those things.
Thank you, Thomas. Susan.
I do support Proposition S. I was on the school board the last time we had a proposition on the ballot, and it was so exciting to see the things that we were able to do with that money. And this is even more exciting because now we are getting to see the start of a new high school. People asked me before, why don't we build a new high school? Why? You know, it's like, it takes money, and it takes a lot of money to build a whole new high school. So I'm so excited that we're at least going to start with a freshman center and go from there. And that's what a lot of growing school districts do. If you look at Belton, they did that. I believe Blue Springs has done that. So we're not out of the norm. It's just how you do it. I mean, it's money is one thing. I mean, everything costs. Everybody wants free, but in the long run, everything costs somewhere. So I am super excited about how Proposition S is going to benefit the district and how we're going to get more hands-on and career-orientated type learning for these kids like my son, who would rather do hands-on stuff instead of sitting there reading a book, you know, writing English papers or doing math homework or whatever. So I was so excited that he got to go to Cass Career this year, and it has been a game changer for him educationally. So I'm so excited that we will get some of those in-house type hands-on career opportunities for these kids. So in the Performing Arts Center, I don't know, I could go on and on and on. I'm just so excited that this Proposition S is on the ballot. And I really do hope people vote for it because there is no tax increase and it is not a secret.
Thank you, Susan. And finally, Deanna.
Yes, I definitely support Proposition S. I think as we look to expanding buildings, the way that we're going to be able to help our kids get back to a normal semblance is to give them additional abilities. Like Susan said, my kids play sports, and so we have had a large, core group that we've been able to experience life with over the past year. And I can tell the difference between kids that have that versus kids that do not have that. And by voting for Proposition S, you're not just limiting sports. You are going to have additional extracurricular opportunities with, the performing arts and those types of things. When we have some additional funds, that's another piece that we need to expand so that our kids can experience other opportunities. We can have after-school clubs. We can do all sorts of things so that if you're interested in language, fine, we'll do a language. If you're interested in cooking, if you're doing sports, but we need to expand those abilities. And by this Proposition S, by giving us more funds, expanding to the freshman center, insulating maybe the freshmen a little bit more freshmen and seniors are a little different. So I think like when we had the 5th and 6th grade center, I thought that was a great thing as well to kind of get them ready for the next thing as they're maturing in their process. So I think it's super exciting, and it is something our growing community simply has to have.
Thank you, Deanna. Now we're going to do a 1-minute wrap-up, and we'll start with Thomas, and we're going to work our way towards Susan. You can say anything you want during the 1 minute, but this is your chance to wrap things up. Thomas.
All right, well, thank you so much for having this. We have some great candidates. I'm so impressed with the people I've met and who I listen to, and I know we have some great people, earnest people working in our district. I want to be an advocate for those teachers out there. So often I hear a story that a teacher is leaving to come to Shawnee Mission or to Blue Valley because the pay just doesn't cut it for their family. And that's heartbreaking. I want to be an advocate for that change. I want to be an advocate for the families who don't feel like they have an advocate, if they feel voiceless. Those people in special education, those people who LGBTQ, who feel like they're not being represented. I want to be an advocate for the seniors in Foxwood Springs who feel that maybe their taxes aren't going to the right spot. I want to be an advocate for anybody who feels they need to be heard. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Thomas. Deanna.
As a graduate of RAPEC, as well as my husband, we're proud to send our kids through the RAPEC school district. I am running for school board because I'm passionate about what we're doing for the future of our kids. I want to be part of this exciting growth in our district, where we're going. I see our challenges ahead. I know that we need to get our kids back. We need to incent our teachers, and that may be in different ways. Money's not always the only incentive. We need to be able to provide them ways that they can do new training that helps them celebrate their why. Teachers came to be teachers for a why. And I think we need to help them keep that. We also need to navigate the challenge of going to a 2-school community. We've been a 1-school community for so long that as we move forward with Proposition S, we will have some of those challenges. And so I am very excited for that, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight.
Thank you, Deanna. And finally, Susan.
Thank you for putting this on. I appreciate it. It gives us a chance to kind of let the community see who we are, put faces with a name. And my passion lies in seeing every student succeed, no matter how great or small. I did serve on the school board from 2016 to 2019. And I know what it takes to do this job, and I'm dedicated to do it to the best of my ability. I am very passionate, and I'm very compassionate also, just to see even the small successes in some students, because all students face obstacles, but some face greater ones that we have no control over. They have no control over. So some of those small achievements mean the world to them. And we need to be a district who's passionate for all students, from the staff, administration, teachers, the lunchroom workers. It's just, we need to be an all-inclusive district that doesn't fail any student and keeps even the ones that need that extra help, try to bridge that gap. So thank you again, and I appreciate this.
Thank you. Thank each of you. I sure appreciate your time, and I'm glad to have you here tonight. Just the final wrap up. Look, April 6th is the election. That's this next Tuesday, and I would like to ask everyone at home, everybody who's watching, to please go out and vote. That's one of the single most important things we can do to help support our communities. And